Construction or reconstruction or street or road.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the April 2nd, 2024 meeting of the Litchfield Planning Board. Would you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. I will start with the roll call of members. Michael Croto, Chair.
Jared O'Connell, member.
Rose Medina.
Jeremy Robitaille, member.
Selectmen's reps, Kevin Lynch.
Okay, welcome. We obviously lost Kim Queenan as our ex officio rep. She was with us for quite some time. Wish her well. She was a great asset to the board. And obviously, you've been on the board before, Kevin, and you were also an asset.
It's all new to me.
It's all new to you, okay. Very good. Well, welcome. And Jay Minkara, NRPC, is here this evening. Welcome. I'm Joan McKibben, the Planning Board Administrator, and Lou Caron, our Town Engineer. Welcome. All right. First item, public input on non-agenda items. Items not listed on the agenda for this evening. Are there any public input on non-agenda items this evening? And seeing none, I will close public input on non-agenda items. And we will go to the first order of business this evening. We have an interview with Planning Board applicant Travis Tucker. Is Travis here this evening? Why don't you come sit at the table, introduce yourself to the board, state your name and address for the record.
All right. Hello, my name's Travis Tucker. I live at 13 Garden Drive, and thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedules to fit me in here. I'm a lifelong resident of Litchfield, graduate of Campbell High School 3 years ago, and I love this town, grew up here, and I'm so grateful for that opportunity. I think today more than ever we can feel some of the growing pains in the region and all around us with development, and I think seeing all of that, I've kind of felt compelled to come forward and be a youth voice, a younger perspective into the conversation, and I would love to kind of guide the future development of this town, both economically and residentially. I love Litchfield's rural character and all the open space, the agricultural land that we have, and I would like to kind of preserve the place that I grew up in for future generations as much as possible. I am currently an undergraduate student. I study at Harvard down in Cambridge. I'm currently taking a little bit of time off, so it kind of enables me to study a little bit more here and get a little bit more involved. I am very aware of the time commitment, as well as the transportation, as well as the different site walks and things that might arise, and I feel very confident that I can fulfill all of my obligations through scheduling and everything of the sort. There's always obviously a lot to manage in all of our lives, but I feel like I've got a good slice of that as an undergraduate student, and I feel confident that I can manage the time accordingly and also to be here at all of the meetings. I have been working with Great North Property Management over in Merrimack for quite some time now, working with condominiums and specifically. Nothing too crazy, but just kind of as an administrative person and seeing all that when we get a new property, processing all the site maps and stormwater drains and such. I was like, this looks kind of cool. This is pretty interesting. And I've kind of tuned into some of your meetings, and it's cool to hear all of you guys talk. And I think I want to learn from you guys. I would love to play a role in this community, seeing that there's an opening and if the board are so inclined. And yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions or anything of the sort about background or experience or anything like that.
Okay, well, thank you very much for coming tonight, and it's great that you're looking to be a volunteer for the town. I think that's always a good thing. Does anybody have any questions for Travis this evening?
I guess with the current college on hold, you said?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
when do you think you will resume that, and will that interfere at all with the board?
Yeah, so I'll be going back in August, and I don't anticipate that at all interfering with the board. Classes are earlier in the day, and the majority of my commitments are much later in the week and on the weekends, so I don't anticipate much. And I come up pretty frequently to see my mom and see some friends, so I think it also is just an excuse to come up and see the people that I care about, too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, so like I said, our schedule is the first Tuesday and third Tuesday of the month. We meet here in Town Hall at 7. Meetings generally run till about 9 o'clock. Sometimes they can go over time, depending upon what project is before us, but we usually end around 9 o'clock. Obviously, if you were to, so just so you know, if you were to, our job here tonight is to recommend you to the Board of Selectmen and for approval for the appointment. And you would go before them. So if we voted tonight to allow you, to recommend you to the Board of Selectmen, then you would go to the, wherever you would be on the Board of Selectmen's agenda. They would have a meeting, and it would be similar to this process, and they would basically interview you, and then they would make the final decision as to the approval as a planning board member. So that's really how the process works. And, yeah, so, well, I think, you know, obviously you have an interest in, or it's like you have expertise architecture and construction, so that's good. Communications, that's important. And so I think this is good. And you're a resident of Litchfield, so that's important too. So,
Let's check that one off.
check that one off, yeah. So, unless anybody has any further questions, we can take a vote, or if you want to ask more questions. Or
Have you spent any time familiarizing yourself with any of the zoning or other regulations in Litchfield?
Yes, I have. I do have some limited knowledge because there's so much there to look at, but I have taken the time to kind of review the zoning ordinances, the site plan regulations, the subdivision regulations, and all the appendices attached to them. So taking some time. We'll take some more time to kind of get wicked familiar with it. But
Good light reading.
yeah, good to read before bed.
Yeah, you don't need
Are we
to.
reading much then?
Yeah, you don't need to memorize them,
No,
but you
no.
need to be able to reference them when
Yeah.
the topic comes up.
And of course, all of our meetings are videotaped, so you are welcome to go on YouTube and watch as many as you like if you want to get a feel for what goes on in the planning board. So that's another option as well.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Being that he goes back and forth, can he be on one of these webinars here too?
Oh, you mean like remote?
Remote. Is that permitted here?
I believe it is,
Just asking.
but I think, what the heck? Oh, it's a ladybug. Okay. I was like, where did that come from? Awkward. But I think he would basically, in terms of voting, I think we would have to vote him in.
Oh, yeah, I understand that.
You know the process,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
obviously. But if you wanted to do that, I don't see why he couldn't do that. But, you know, it's certainly a choice as well. It's an option.
Well, today's world, I'll be honest with you, no one's going to meetings. They're all who watching TV, watching the meeting. That's all I can say, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, I think last time they said that couldn't be done. They told me I couldn't do that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that was said to me that I couldn't do it.
I know that there was.
No, I don't
It
think
was-
they were doing Zoom anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, so there is no remote, we can't do
No.
remote? Yeah, I believe our town administrator, she probably has the answer to that question.
So if you are traveling and if it is a extenuating circumstances, you are sick, then you can remote in. You cannot remote in as a general rule. So you couldn't remote in as a general practice.
Of course.
And never can you have less than the majority or quorum of the board physically present.
So, I guess that's the answer.
But I do definitely anticipate being here in person.
That's great. Any further questions? You guys want to take a vote to recommend Tucker to the, Travis Tucker to the Board of Selectmen for recommendation for approval?
Make a motion
Okay.
to recommend Travis to the Board of Selectmen as the final member.
Okay, I have a motion by Jeremy. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Jose. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed?
Will I have to abstain because I'm the voting member to put them in?
Okay, I understand.
Okay.
All right, so abstained. So motion passes 1, 2, 3, 4. Four, but 4, 0, 1. This is fine. Thank you. All right, so they will probably schedule you to, you'll probably get an email about scheduling for the Board of Selectmen meeting or the next meeting or something, or maybe they can get you on the agenda. And,
Monday at 6:30.
Monday at 6:30, and that's it.
I'm gonna have to say hi to your parents again.
There you go. Well, thank you very much for your, coming in.
Did he ever mention what his major is for studying?
Yeah, I think architecture and
Can you stay here and watch?
yeah. Oh, that's, yeah. I know what he's studying.
Yes.
We don't get,
I like this, I like this one
So
especially.
the next item
More
on the
like
agenda is
lifeguard.
what we've all been waiting for. The stormwater management regulations.
I'm wondering if some of this
Nick Christofori, is that how you say it?
has to do
Okay.
with his work.
Professional engineer from Comprehensive Environmental Inc.,
Yeah, probably.
CEI.
Yeah,
Why
good
don't you come forward and introduce yourself?
Travis, this involves regulations and stormwater. Would you like to give the presentation? No. I guess that's a no.
Good try.
I do what I can. So my name's Nick Christofori with Comprehensive Environmental, and I've been working with the town for not too long now. I think a couple of years. I did a little bit of work with Troy Brown when he was town administrator, and done a little bit of work, Kim, with you on the MS4 program compliance. And I could go into all the different things we've been doing, but the big thing that we've been working on lately is getting the town's regulatory components in compliance with the EPA MS4 permit. So as a real brief background on the MS4 permit, the Phase 2 permit was released back originally in 2003. And the permit was originally about this thick, and it outlined 6 different minimum control measures. One of those, or 2 of those control measures, I guess, involved construction site and post-construction sites, and making sure that stormwater was properly being controlled during construction and controlled after construction.
Mm-hmm.
The 2003 permit was supposed to last for 5 years. It lasted 15 years and was more recently updated back in 2016 and became final in 2018. And as a component of those regulations, the town still needed to get the erosion and sediment control regulations in place, as well as do like an updated post-construction requirement. And that post-construction regulation does things like mandate removal of phosphorus and total suspended solids as a result once construction is over, so making sure you're infiltrating stormwater to recharge groundwater, making sure there's operation and maintenance plans and procedures in place so that there's long-term operation and maintenance is performed by someone, making sure that there's an appropriate regulatory piece that says this is the process of going through how to get a permit, and so on and so forth. So the threshold for those regulations is any disturbance over 1 acre or more. So it's only if you disturb an acre or more. So if you own 2 acres of property and you're putting in a pool or a deck or something like that, there's a 99% chance that you will not be triggering any of these regulations. However, if you are buying a wooded lot and you're clearing, an acre and a half to put in a house, you would be triggering those regulations. So as I sit before you tonight, the town has very recently passed the ordinance at town meeting 2 weeks ago, something like that, a week ago. So we're part of the way there. So that's good that we have the ordinance in place. There is a mechanism that says, okay, if you disturb an acre or more, you need to meet the regulations that are associated with this ordinance. The town does not currently have the regulations in place, which is kind of like the teeth of everything. It really outlines everything that needs to be done. And the reason that we split up the ordinance and the regulations is that, as you know, the ordinance is very difficult comparatively to get adopted. It has to go before town meeting. You guys only meet once a year, I'm assuming? Sometimes twice, maybe?
Once enough.
One's enough, Exactly. You only meet once a year, so if you want to make any changes or anything like that, it needs to go back before the people again. So it's an onerous process. Whereas comparatively, the regulations are a lot easier because you can do it at this meeting, and you just say, we're gonna do a hearing on the regulations tonight, and you talk about it in a public forum. So that's kind of why we're here tonight. The other piece of this is the town is currently under a consent order, correct, from EPA. So the town is currently required by EPA per written letter to have these in place by the end of June. And the reason behind that is the end of June, that's the end of year 6 of the permit. These regulations were supposed to be in place by the end of year 3. So the town is currently 3 years behind with this particular piece. I will say that there are other towns out there that are also under consent orders because for the exact same reason, they don't have this in place. So you have company, but it's not good company per se. So that's kind of just the real background, I guess, about where we're at. You know, and I could talk for a half hour about this with respect for everyone's time. I don't think you guys want to necessarily hear about all of the background. So I think, Kim, you distributed the regulations as they stand more or less right now. And these are work in progress. These are work in progress. So the way the regulations stand right now is the town had an existing threshold of 15,000 square feet of disturbance. And if you and I don't recall exactly what those thresholds are. I know it's 15,000 square feet and you have to do certain things. And I think it's mostly about erosion and sediment controls. Usually that's kind of what it is. And it's a little bit, you know, it's not quite as onerous, say. So the MS4 regulatory requirements are very onerous. They say, all right, you know, if you disturb an acre or more, you need to show all these different things. You need to show how you're removing 50% of phosphorus and 80% of total suspended solids in redevelopment, or 60% and 90% in new development. You need to show how you're infiltrating groundwater. You need an operation and maintenance plan. You need an erosion sediment control plan. You need to go through this whole process. So what we've done for the regulations is we've basically taken those requirements, and those requirements only apply if you're disturbing an acre or more. So what we've really tried to do is preserve that 15,000 square foot threshold, which are on the books now, and sort of kept them as their own thresholds. If you're under 15,000 square feet, if you're under an acre and more than 15,000 square feet, you need to do exactly what the town has been doing thus far. There's no change to those regulations. If you disturb an acre or more, now you have to meet the permit EPA MS4 requirements. Are there any questions before I go further about that? And please ask away.
Anybody have any questions?
So when you say an acre or more, so if they disturb an acre or more, they have to establish what EPA says on everything?
Yes. If you disturb an acre or more, or are part of, like if you do a subdivision or something like that, because the entire project
They have to bring everything up to code from the house, even if under an acre, they still have to bring it.
If you disturb an acre or more, your project, whatever that project is, needs to meet all these different requirements. Like I said, if you're under an acre, if you disturb less than an acre, you will not trigger anything under EPA. Your regulations will not change from how they are now.
And disturb is as little as clear cut, correct?
Well, that's interesting you say clear cut.
There's a difference there.
I'm sorry?
There's a difference on that one.
They say you're doing a patio, something like that.
There is a difference on that one.
Yeah.
So the way the regulation is written is, I believe we typically do a land disturbing or earth disturbing activity. Which
That's
is
the
typically
one.
how we do it, right?
Clear cutting is not disturbing the land.
So my understanding is if you're cutting trees and you are harvesting those trees, you're kind of driving around, but if you're not digging up the stumps, in my opinion, you would not necessarily trigger this permit.
Really?
And the other kind of angle on, EPA's been a little unclear on this, the other angle on that is agricultural uses are also not regulated.
Yeah.
Oh,
So, because basically anything agricultural is not covered under Clean Water Act. And everything under this all goes back to the Clean Water Act.
Does anyone have any concerns about significant erosion due to rainwater and that kind of stuff, if the trees are all cut down? And
Well, if it's agricultural, EPA can't
no, I'm
touch it.
saying, it's not, it's just clearing a lot off for some reason, but you don't have to dig into the ground at all yet. you wait 10 years now and those trees are all dying, the ground falls apart, and
Yeah, they don't care
no
about
issue with
that.
that at all?
That issue is a little bit, and I've had towns go both ways on this. Most of my communities have said, we want to lot, yep, that's okay, we're okay with that.
Here's there's another side to this too. If you look across the street, the state just cut the pine forest over there. They got rid of the pines that they had in it because they were not good for the state of New Hampshire. And they clear cut a lot. There's a lot of dead brush around. And that's what happens, is what's not just going and clear cutting everything in there. And then you go in and grind it right down. No, harvesting logs and stuff like that, you're just cutting the logs. The stumps are all in place. The rest of the vegetation you're not being used is in place. It's just harvesting. Okay, there's a difference there. If you go in there and clear cut and then go in and stump it, or you come in and start with a grinder, bringing everything else down, that's a gray area,
Agreed.
okay?
Yes.
And that's the gray area that's out there, everyone has.
Yes.
Even the towns, when they go to do something like
Yep.
build a ball field. Okay?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? It gets rough there. But
Agreed.
in this case here, stormwater I've known for years. I've been involved with it, so I think, I like what you said. You don't need to get involved with the permit with that. And with agriculture, state of New Hampshire promotes it. And that's why you don't worry about it.
Right,
Okay.
right. Yeah, yeah, I agree, and most of my communities kind of leave it purposely gray in the regulations a little bit.
It's a good idea.
And, you know, kind of for that, because the problem is, who makes the determination as to, well, is it a land disturbance or not? Well, okay, you know, you clear cut the trees, I would say that's not a land disturbing activity. Now, you need to get equipment in there, so you need to drive in.
That's not
So
serious.
at what point is it an acre of disturbance? I mean, if, you know, you're driving around in 5 acres or something like that, but are the tire tracks, well, you know, so now you're getting into you measuring the tire tracks?
Well, that question
Like this?
came up in a job that I had a while back ago, where the forestry said no. Because we're not disturbing the land per se by stumping it, bringing it over there. We may do an area of 600 square feet for logging, dumping,
Right,
but that's about it. Not going 1,000, you know what I'm saying?
right.
An
And,
acre, I say.
right. And, you know, you do have some disturbance, obviously, but I mean, the vegetation is still kind of
Vegetation's
there.
gonna
It comes back.
Come right back. Especially the poison ivy and the, what's that other invasive
Any
species?
invasive species.
That's all for you guys. You can go play in that.
I don't get it.
Yeah, looking at the document, the disturbed area and land disturbing activity is definitely more on the like vague side. So, yeah, any activity on property that results in a change in the existing soil cover, both vegetative and non-vegetative, and/or the existing soil topography. They include, but not limited to, development, redevelopment, demolition, construction, reconstruction, clearing, grading, filling, and excavation.
The intent is that if you are changing the ground cover, so obviously if you're taking forest to make a pavement or something like that, that's a land disturbing activity. And if you're putting a shovel in the ground, those are your land disturbing activities. And then any actual construction related activity. So if you're doing a staging area and if you're driving equipment around and all that kind of stuff, those are land disturbing activities. Other than that, it's a little bit, you know, up to the board. And like I said, we've asked EPA on that exact question, and they kind of said, well, you know.
Now, the other towns you deal with this stuff, they're also the gray area.
Yes.
Are they having any problems with the gray area, or is it just the way it is?
I really haven't heard too much on this, to be honest. One of the good things being late to the party is I've done this for a lot of communities already. So we have found we have ironed out some of the things that didn't necessarily work early on for the early adopter communities and been able to change some of those things. You know, for the most part, these are fairly standard regulations right now. The difference with you is you do have that existing 15,000 square foot trigger, but like I said, we really tried to keep those as its own thing and then say, all right, you know, 15,000 to an acre disturbance, you don't do anything different. You're regulations, if you're putting in a pool or putting on an addition with a reason, new driveway, you're unchanged.
Sounds good.
These are big developments.
When you start building something bigger.
Yeah, one good thing about those definitions is they definitely seem to err on the side of its disturbance, and then they'd have to ask a board if it applies, if they believe that maybe it shouldn't, rather than the other way around. Which boards would be in charge of enforcing this?
Planning board.
This is you guys, I think, right?
I mean, you do have a list of uses that it says, which I think is odd, may be exempt.
Yeah, like gray.
Definite,
Yeah, so,
definite maybe.
There's a point where you're gray and where you're too gray.
Yeah, so,
Like gray.
so maybe exempt, we have, normal maintenance and improvement of land in agricultural, probably should be like in
Agricultural use.
See?
But you wouldn't want a scenario where a farmer never knows whether they're exempt or not, right?
The farmers are almost always exempt.
I know, but it's the may, it's not, you know what I mean?
They
It's-
are exempt regardless.
Maybe
That-
word it in a way that's like
Well, for the-
exclusively, like not make it definite if it's exclusively agricultural.
Right.
But there's another way of looking at this too. Your zoning administrator or your code enforcement, okay? He's the one that's gonna make the interpretation. It doesn't come to here. It should not be coming to here. It should be coming through him, in which the decision will be made, whether you gotta go to storm, if you have to go to this step or that step.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of with this very first bullet is you're allowed to do whatever you want in your agricultural fields. You're not allowed to do whatever you want on your house that is next to the
Or
fields.
the new barn or whatever else.
Those are different. The house is not agricultural. The barn, I'm not really sure.
It is, by statute it is, and that's, I'm a farmer, I grew up in a
Yeah.
farm.
I don't know. I'm not a farmer, so absolutely.
And we can do a lot of things we're not supposed to, that most people don't like us to do, okay?
We also like food, though.
That's it. We have tractor parades that everybody doesn't like. But, I'm just saying, I know when I enforced this, in my I used to enforce stormwater.
Sure.
Okay, and when they had to come through me first instead of going through the boards, to see if there's a way of going through it, okay, whether they had to or not. I went through the regulations and sat down with the town engineer, or whatever, okay, and come up with whether they did, it did not. And that's what we should do here, cause I don't think they should have to come here to get a blessing, cause I don't think that's the intent of the regulation. Regulations tell you what needs to be done. And it's not, you just can't give a waiver here, is what I'm saying. Cause that's a variance issue then. Okay?
Well, this isn't an ordinance though, so the planning board could give a waiver. I'm just saying, this isn't an ordinance that would go to the zoning board, it's a regulation that goes to the planning.
Yeah, okay, so then who enforces it? Who catches it? As an inspector in the field, I'm gonna say, so what?
I think it's gonna vary, it is gonna be the building inspector.
It is.
In a lot of cases, and
It has
then
to
it's
be.
gonna get kicked to the board for a permit.
Yeah.
But it's also the board, if it's within the context of a subdivision or a site plan review,
Yeah.
then the board is gonna,
That's a separate issue.
Right.
With a new thing going in, new roads, stuff like that, that's a whole separate issue. You have to go through stormwater management from the beginning.
What about projects like Pennachuck Waterworks right now, 5 years ago? Put in a whole bunch of water mains, in-town roads, trenches, everything. But at the end, they chewed the whole road up. I mean, we were well beyond, even in the project now, well beyond 15,000 square feet, it's probably beyond an acre. But it's not a planning board approved project.
No, it's not a planning board improvement. When you get the drainage or gas lines, too, they're putting in gas lines. Okay, they're gonna do, and I expect we're gonna see some sewer lines coming through, okay? But in my feeling, if it's in the right of way, it's the towns, okay, the town, not the board per se, it's the town, what can be in the right of way. Say if we wanna redo Albuquerque, we regrind it up and make a whole disturbance there of over that amount. We don't do that, we just go through best practices by putting erosion control in place, stormwater, shielding in place, as part of the construction method.
Well,
What
except,
say you, Nick?
except that what you used to do is being changed by these regulations.
Which is an issue I have right now.
So I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, you know, they go out there and dig the trench, put the water main in and patch it up for the winter or something, come in the next springtime or late fall like they did last year and reclaim 3 roads.
And that's what they used to do.
And that's a project that
They do it all the time.
disturbs an area exceeding 15,000 square feet, even more than an acre. So do they need a planning board permit?
They should, because it's town land. They're exempt.
Well, if you wanna count the services that are going into the houses, you probably add all those up, you're gonna exceed 15,000 square feet for services, which is not beyond the right of way.
If you do that, I don't think that's the purpose and intent of it. If you're gonna, because you're just talking a trench. Okay? A small trench.
Yeah, but one small trench time, 15,000 small
Yeah,
trenches.
it's way
is
more
a
than a
big
mile,
trench.
yeah. Yeah, more
It's
than
just,
an acre.
I'm less concerned about the trenches than I am about the road.
So am I.
Because we had to deal with stormwater.
Every day.
Yeah, and I was out there checking it this winter to make sure without curbing and existing catch basins that were in there, that things were still gonna work and wasn't washing away people's lawns. But there wasn't a permit. This talks about getting a, besides planning board approval, they talk about a permit.
So how do they got
From
away
who
with
and
it?
what?
Excuse me?
From who and what?
Well,
For them to dig that?
that's a good question.
That's my
Reading this, it seems like the planning board would be the agent to issue the permit.
But that doesn't make logical if it's in the right of way.
Yeah, I mean, I think the intent of this permit is to not permit those types of projects. And yes, I get it, you are disturbing the land because you're going underneath the pavement, but you're then basically going back and putting back pavement. And if you start going down that road, every time you dig up pavement and dig a trench, you now need to manage the stormwater that is associated with those paved roads.
15,000 square
Right
feet
now,
though.
So
If
how do we
you're- If you're doing a
determine who
culvert
comes
or
in
something,
for
you're not gonna-
approvals? Nah.
Your historical background on this, you've been in this trade a long time.
we won't get into that aspect of it. Look, go
When
ahead.
you think about it, and I've been in it a long time, when, let's say if you got a sewer line replacement you're gonna do, or water line replacement. It's in the right of way, they may have all taps coming out in the first place, but we do that once in a while too, but the pipelines fail. In Milford, they turn brown, it's like it's though. But all I can say is that if it's in the right of way, it's been my background that it's the board's, selectmen's, and the DBW to handle what needs to be done and put everything in place, if it's in the right of way. As you're bringing up, the trenches to feed a house, okay, like they just did all over the place, and everybody's happy about that. But to go through a permit for that, it's not logical to me, that's all I'm saying.
I'm just asking the question, because I read it, it's sort of, what you read and what's logical may not converge, that's
Thank you.
all.
You know what I'm talking about then.
So, the question would be, does the planning board get involved with permitting a type of Pennachuck waterwork project that might meet criteria that you're expressing in here?
Correct, but
So Nick, have you seen a carve-out for that kind of stuff, like agricultural has, for their purposes? Is there I don't say a municipal or a services carve-out for this?
Well, I mean, one of the
From
exemptions.
our project?
One of the exemptions is normal maintenance improvements of the town's publicly owned roadways and associated drainage infrastructure.
This is nothing normal maintenance with these projects. The
It's a
town
new
would
law.
never be, the town is not even doing it. It's a private company doing it.
Right. I mean, normal maintenance and improvements of publicly owned, I get it, it's not roadways, it's not drainage infrastructure.
This a gray area?
Of course. Again, the intent of the regulation is to regulate, the malls, which, you're Litchfield, I know you guys get, how many malls do you get applications for a year?
so many.
Tons, like probably 3 or
Pile of
4
them.
at least, yeah, right.
I know in my years, we get into site plans for, I've done 4 or 5 strip malls, multi-units and stuff like that. And we get into the stormwater is part of the design, and getting it blessed by the state. as part of the process, and you gotta meet the EPA requirements and that whole thing. And I think now, the biggest thing was stormwater, the state's getting involved with the runoff is the biggest factor for them today. And runoff, yeah, well, it rains if it has to go somewhere. So I gotta know, look at the river.
Right.
Okay?
Goes downhill.
I mean, as far, if there are things that you want to, specific things or project types that you want to regulate or don't want to regulate, we can build those into these regulations. I'm not saying these are them and, you know, there's nothing else we can change on it. So if you have a Penachuk type project like that, you know, we can look at regulating it. But like I said, just, you know, keep in mind that if you do bring in those sort of sewer utility projects, you're basically gonna be making that private developer treat stormwater somehow, because there's no room that they, you know, they don't want any land there to treat, so you're basically making them put in like leaching catch basins or perforated pipe or something like that.
Well, here's another curveball on that one. You got a road that was basically built 40 or 50 years ago. And, you know, Litchfield uses concrete pipes, so they don't break down. Dig them up, use them forever. But there was never any erosion control stuff done 50 years ago or treatment. So, I mean, Kevin, anyone in town's been here a while can show you pipelines that are dumping towards the river. It all goes to the river, basically.
It all goes
And all these roads, and subdivisions that were connected to the roads, like 2 blocks up here.
Yep.
That there were never treatment ponds or anything like that. So does
Detention
that
basin.
put the community kind of behind the 8 ball if they do an improvement on this project? That
This is only regulating new development and redevelopment. So, if you are
Okay.
if you're just repaving the road,
Not an issue.
not an issue.
Okay.
It's a good question, because today, whenever we do a subdivision with the drainage, we got detention outfalls,
Oh, yeah,
okay? We got the ponds out front here,
yep.
okay?
We got one down at the corner of Albuquerque
You got
that we
it.
put in years ago.
Okay? And they're all over the place, and it's called detention basins. And
Yeah.
the one at the corner of Albuquerque, I haven't seen much water in there since it's been built, but it's a big one. But today, the regulation for the roads that were built in the 60s, the 70s, in the 80s, okay, I'll say that, they didn't get into detention as much. They just got into sheet drainage, where it came off.
No,
at the
they
crossbar.
did
Yeah.
they did in the 80s, because
Beginning part?
I was reviewing projects here in the 80s.
Okay.
And we did
London-
the
yeah,
full
the-
bore
Yeah.
stormwater.
Because I did Londonderry, and we had stormwater there, because the roads, we had detentions.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do they ever, the EPA ever take into account the type of soil that they're dealing with?
There is a consideration in that as far as your recharge goes. So if you're like a hydrologic soil group A, which infiltrates really well, you have to do additional infiltration than if your soils are more poor, like a C or a D. So it does come into play.
Larger area if you allow it to filter it down.
But it still falls under the AOT permit,
Yeah, and that's.
because we don't even
100,000.
go by soils unless you divide the K factor by half.
Right.
But other than that, if it's questionable, they'll require you, and this is a new reg about 5-6 years ago, of going out there and doing a specialized test to test infiltration rates. And this is not what a surveyor does for a septic system. 'Cause that's what engineers used to use 10 years ago. And the state said, no, don't work that way. So they have 2 or 3 in their AOT,
Yeah.
in the stormwater manual.
You're talking-
They have 2 or 3 procedures that you can use that are approved.
Well, you're talking about how like a septic tank guy will do a perk test. with
They
no
used to
tap
do
in
that.
there, but
They
now it doesn't.
used to do
They
that.
used to do that. I used to do them, okay, back in the day.
Yeah.
Okay, and we used to do that, and that was considered the flow that we needed if we get into the detention area. But then they'd loam it, so it didn't make much difference, because they had a filtration system going on, so it helped. Because they want the grass and the weeds to grow. The bittersweet.
More questions?
Questions?
One thing I know about is water and dirt.
So I guess the question is, how do we want to approach this as a regulation?
So I guess to that end, I do have a question. So Nick, you mentioned this is a work in progress. Are there more edits or amendments that you want to make to it?
Not me. I've reviewed and edited this enough for my liking.
Can I say something about that? I'm not on the portal to get the mail for the planning board stuff.
That's why I said, go to the town website and get it off of there. Anybody can get it off the town website.
Talking to a guy who uses a computer for an ashtray.
I'll help you after.
So
I'll show you after the meeting.
Kim, did you wanna?
That's all right.
Selectman Lynch need a copy of this.
Yeah. Oh, Kim, thank you.
So we've got, obviously, we've got a lot of options, but one option would be if the board wants to take more time to look at it, to set up another workshop.
Okay.
Or if you feel comfortable, then you could, vote to set it to a public hearing, and then there could be a public hearing, and the board could get input, make amendments, could adopt it then, or could, continue the public hearing if you felt that you needed more.
I think why we're just talking about what we talked tonight, no one knows this on the outside world. They must have heard something, people watching this tonight, I hope they heard some of the stuff. I hope it'll be helpful to get somebody else to come in and talk about it as well. But that's the most important part. We adopt everybody does it, and no one shows up. And then somebody goes to read it, uh-oh.
I suspect that if we held a public hearing on it and put out, some press on it, I would imagine there's people who are involved in construction activity who'd be interested.
Yeah, there are several builders
even
in
the guy
town
last
that would probably have
I know what you're
thoughts.
I'm sure.
There was that one change that we noticed would be necessary on page 5. It was the normal maintenance and improvement of land in agricultural.
Yeah.
It stops there.
I think we need the word use.
In our agricultural use.
What section, Jared?
Section?
That is 3.1 or 3.2.3.
3.2.3?
And under A? What- let's see.
It's the
Yes,
first,
A.
yeah, it's the first one.
Also, all my pages say 10 of 13.
Yeah, the page numbers are all off.
You're an engineer, right?
3.2.3.
Well, if we can get it in a Word version, then we can fix it.
You
It
said
would be the-
3.2.3?
Oh, it's up
Yeah.
higher, it's above page. It's right below 3.0.
Okay.
It's up there.
Okay, some of the numbering is off because the numbers in 3.1 should be 3.1, but they're currently 3.2.
It's back.
Yeah, weird.
Yeah.
There's two
Something's
3.2s.
yeah, it's out of order.
Yeah, because it says 3.2 and then 3.
Let's go over, go back and reread some of this.
Yeah.
Well, I think we
Yeah,
are.
maybe just send out the Word doc that I had sent you this morning, maybe. If is that it, just so everyone has the same version. My file name is the newest one. Is the file name is dated 3/11/2020.
Right, right.
Okay, that's the one I got here,
Yeah, me too.
except
Except it,
print out. You should have-
would you like me to make you a copy?
My pages look okay.
You don't have the file name. You have the actual physical document.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just keep flipping pages.
I can build a house, okay?
Yeah, you can.
I wonder if the export or the viewing online is making any differences.
I don't know. Maybe.
Because it's a docx format which needs to be rendered, as opposed to a PDF which is already rendered.
Well, I tell you what. Let me add the word use, and I'll send to Kim, and you can send out, and then everyone can at least have the version.
And we'd also need the numbering fixed in the 3.1 section.
Yes, mine is okay on my end, which is weird.
Oh, interesting.
Now on mine, applicability is 3.1, and then below that 3.2.2.
Oh, it doesn't say 3.2.2?
Yeah, it's stormwater
Do you
management is
have-
3.0. Below that's applicability
Okay,
3.1.
that was
Right.
supposed to
And
be
then
Yeah.
sections
Two
have
narrative
3.2.2 and
Right.
3.2.3.
3.1.1.
3.1.1.
So it should be
Oh, it
one.
should be 3.1.
The number is
Yeah,
off.
This is section three.
Yeah, the numbers, yeah.
If we did do a public hearing on this, would we require Nick to come back for this too, or?
Hopefully.
Because he's probably the most
Right in here
equipped to answer
Yeah.
the
I
question.
would think that would be prudent. Yes.
I get mixed
You
up.
might wanna sit on this side and listen.
This design standards, right here, 3-4.
And then did you have minimum
I think,
requirements?
this is gonna probably take a little bit to review this.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, right here.
Yeah.
It's got, it's,
It is, I mean, it's very intricate.
And what all is it?
This is,
Yeah,
It's
a
27
New
pages.
world
bunch
now,
of blank
so,
lines here.
yeah,
This needs like a week and a half.
MS4
Didn't
is
bother me
gonna
too
be
much.
part of our life.
so we can hear.
It's 20
So
pages.
do we need
Gotta
to
find
have
the
the
time for us to
draft
read
that
20
we are
pages.
having a public hearing on
Oh, you know
today in order to make it,
This could read it to you.
to have the public hearing?
It could be read to you
Well,
while you be driving.
I mean, I guess there's a couple of options there.
Right.
One, you could just post it as it
May
is,
not require
knowing
no
that
reason
there's
to
going to
you.
be changes. Changes to things like numbering, et cetera, can be done. Or you could make note of the changes that you know you want, and then make a motion to move it to public hearing as amended.
Number 7
And
is,
then we would post it within the required period corrected. Which would be 10 days prior. So you could do it either way you want, or you could decide you want to put it to a workshop. I am, thinking, just thinking calendar. The soonest.
gotta get it by June, you said, right?
June what?
We really couldn't do the 16th
supposed to
because
be
we've
by the
already
end
set
of
that agenda.
End of June.
Yeah, 16.
Yeah, so the soonest we could send it to public hearing, if we wanted to, would be May 7th.
Okay, and if we discover changes between now and then, we can propose those changes during the public hearing?
So you could, so wait, I'm just gonna do a little counting here. 1, 2,
26th.
26 would have to be posted. So if you wanted to vote it as amended tonight, you could. And we would have to have the final language posted by the 26th of April. You do have another meeting between now and then, so you could decide to wait until the 16th
That might make
and
sense.
act then, and that might be prudent, because then you'll be more comfortable with what you're voting for, and we'd still have time
Yeah.
to do it. And it'd be a good idea to try to get it to a public hearing on May 7th, because you might get a lot of input, and there might be more changes, and then you'll need another public hearing, and that would probably be June 4th. So we'd want to give ourselves, the flexibility of having at least 2 public hearings, in other words, before we're staring down that deadline.
Joan, do you have any idea of our agenda for May 7th?
I have one case, I believe.
That's good.
Should work.
Can I put it off till next meeting to discuss this?
Yeah.
Do a public hearing?
Can't do the 16th, April 16th, can't do. For public hearing.
No, I'm saying, but
Yeah, just to,
we'll discuss it again.
Oh, discuss it,
Yeah, yeah,
right,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
We've had time to review all this.
we'll add it as a
Yeah.
discussion to
Yeah,
that.
let's add a discussion.
That's a good idea.
Right. You want that, Mike?
And then would it make sense for the engineer to be back here for the public hearing and not for the discussion, I would assume?
Probably. But we should ask him, can you make May 7th?
Since he's here, we can pose the question.
Travis has got a cover for me.
There you go. Can you do the
Yeah,
7th?
I believe that will work.
Okay.
That should be fine. I live in Auburn, so
Oh, hell,
be close.
Close.
Be close.
Billy.
It's better than driving down Cape Cod, which is what I've been doing for plenty of these. I get that later this month.
You going tomorrow?
I'm sorry?
You going to Cape Cod tomorrow?
Not the mall, but I go to meet with towns down there. I
Oh,
have
God.
But
several
it-
communities down there.
Mike,
Bless you.
April 16th agenda is a little bit heavy, so.
Okay.
Doesn't have to be an in-depth discussion.
We're just
No.
going to bring up any
put it
changes that we notice between now and then and have it as homework for the
Changes.
board to review that.
When you say it's heavy, Joan, how heavy is heavy?
So 4 cases, small ones, but sometimes the small ones take longer. You never know.
This is gonna take
Because
a while.
we'd rather just have extra time to look at it before we make the,
Yeah, I think that's the prudent thing to do.
Selling
I
explosives
wanna read it
out of the
first.
living room.
That's
Okay.
May
Should we do a
7th.
vote?
I'm sorry?
You have to vote to push it to next
Butter
meeting, or
sticks
just?
and dynamite.
do it?
It's the gun one, it's the gun.
The legal side came out.
Gun
So,
was
at
coming May
at the
7th.
next
Gun.
meeting, we'll probably.
Back on the agenda.
But the ATF is
Let me know
not,
when you want me to come back.
they're regulated.
I can Probably.
The guy next door's not.
Probably the 7th.
Drive by this place to go home.
And if we, I mean, if that's, you know, we do decide to have a public hearing, then that'll be, you know, a good time.
So
If
for
there's
tonight,
questions.
did you want to get into some of the technical details that are on this list of many changes?
Well, you know, I had a question, because I was curious, what, being a consultant, what you're looking at this whole thing, what are your recommendations in terms of implementing some of this regulation? What do you see as important or that should be incorporated into the document?
You talking to Lou?
No, I'm talking to the consultant.
Nick, okay.
I'm sorry.
That's fine.
But, and your input as well, Lou, obviously.
Have you read this, Lou, and come up with some ideas too?
Yeah, it's all my own red lines.
I like your red lines. If you wanna put that on a scanner and send it to us, we can read it for you.
Yeah, that would
Well,
be
they're more questions than a recommendation.
Okay,
nice.
okay.
So,
Does everything need to be done here, or can we discuss offline? Like, I mean, can you send me comments and I can respond to them?
We could do a phone conversation.
I mean, I don't care, I'm just saying it might be easier for,
like,
do that. And then,
Because
you know,
they're more technical, that's my field, is the technicality. They deal with procedure and stuff like that. And
I mean, that's why I'm asking, I mean, you know, do you and I just wanna have
I
a
can-
conversation?
I
I don't
can-
care.
I can do
You
that.
tell me, I'm here, it doesn't matter to me.
if you have any items that you think we might have input on, then now would be a good time to address them.
Well, it's something that Jay might, and under the 15,000 square foot type of project, the reference is to, for BMPs, best management practices, the reference is Stormwater Management Erosion Control Handbook for Urban and Developing Areas in Hampshire, Rockingham County Conservation District. And frankly, I had that copy of that thing years ago, but never really used it. The stormwater manual that you refer to for the larger projects is really the Bible.
Yeah, I think that's an antiquated reference.
Oh, yeah.
It
Because,
is.
correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, but I think what you did was you left our 15,000-foot
Yes.
requirements the way they are now.
Yes.
So that's what's there now.
I know.
Yeah.
But this is an opportunity to
To update
update
it.
those
Because
two,
they're
so I
there.
think it's a good idea to do that.
So, yeah, I mean, I tried to not get into too much your existing 15,000 square foot stuff, but I mean, certainly if there are changes that you would like to make, now's the time, because we're going through this anyway. They're coming out with a new stormwater.
It's just the DES stormwater manual is so much more detailed than this other thing, and
Yeah.
it's up to date.
Yep.
You know, they've dug into the UNH stormwater studies and brought that stuff in there, and
They're doing an updated manual now.
there you go, so.
1992 you're referring to as old? Yes.
Not that, no, it's more current than that, but,
I'm saying what's listed here.
yeah, but I wouldn't mind going through them, what's in there now even, some of it is somewhat dated, because it hasn't changed in a long time. But plus you have different experiences, like, you know, just a simple area of disturbance shall be kept to a minimum, disturbed areas remaining idle for more than 30 days shall be stabilized. Well, if anyone wants to go over 255 Dairy Road, and you tell me if they're gonna put temporary erosion control measures all over the place, they've secured the site at the perimeter. What they're doing inside is disturbing probably
Every day.
200,000 square feet. But they're not gonna run around these little isolated areas and try and stabilize them. I mean, it's all muddy, and first time they drive a dump truck over, it's gonna be muddy again. But it doesn't apply, really. You know, like,
Can't.
when I look at projects, I'm not looking at, you know, this slope over here is eroding. Okay, I look at, where's that sediment going?
Yeah,
Oh, it's going down into a basin, or it's going to a silt fence or something. And, oh, the silt fence is built up, because we had a couple situations where on a steeper slope, the sediment tends to build up in front of the silt fence. And I just told the guy, go clean it up, you know, remove it so that it can store some more for the next storm event. But,
Don't impact the down and off grading.
yeah, it's not, you know, like on-site, if stuff's on-site, I mean, this is what I write in my reports, and I send my time in, I write a little description, and I'm just saying that, you know, the erosion control measures are working, nothing's leaving the site,
The intent is being met.
and that's what I care about. You know, if it stays in a puddle or sediment moves on the site, doesn't matter to me so
Right.
much, but it's not leaving the site, it's not going to the neighbor's yard, it's not going to a stream or a brook or a wetland or the river. I'm okay with that, but,
We've had sites.
but it doesn't meet these regulations.
With all the rain we had just recently, this summer and this year too, all the silt fencing that I seen up, and they had to go back, you have to maintain it. That's the bottom line. You don't deal every 30 days, you know, you have to maintain it all the time, because erosion, as Lou just said, if you got a slope, it's gonna come in, it's gonna coffer dam against that, you clean it out, you get it to the next one. And you put a second bridge in there somehow. Yep.
So it's looking at the bigger picture rather than little minutia within a site.
Yeah.
Common sense.
I got asked once to secure a abandoned gravel pit in Fremont. And my response was, fine, we just put a big dike around the whole downstream edge of it, and whatever doesn't infiltrate into the ground, it'll dam up behind this berm, and that's it. You're containing it, you're not
Got it.
letting it spread.
That's logical.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it fit their budget, which was whatever bond they had for the excavation.
You don't have to bond to get somebody to go in and do it for not enough money, it's gonna dig a
But-
hole.
I think some of this stuff I could probably do one-on-one.
Yeah, let me know. Like I said, I mean, I think everyone here would be more than happy to have you go through and make some changes on their behalf.
I will pick on you a little bit.
Okay.
Well, you know, if you're gonna look at it, and there are areas in there that can be upgraded or made more current, it's probably a good idea.
Okay.
Now's the time to do it.
Yeah, let's do it, sure.
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
That looks good.
And, obviously, Jay, you can, you know, make your own comments or whatever. You see,
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so Kim, I'll send you this tonight or tomorrow, and then if you wanna circulate and give everyone my contact information if you don't have it already.
It would be a good idea to kind of redline it so that the board knows
right.
what has been proposed to be changed.
Yeah, that would be
It
appreciated.
would be
If we
helpful, I
could,
think.
you know,
Yeah.
place comments within it.
Wise choice to give us an idea what we're talking about.
Right.
Anybody else have any questions?
You still got cards, Lou?
Hmm?
You still got cards?
So I guess we will revisit this at the next meeting.
16th.
And,
Foolish, someone asked me for one, I don't have one.
I know the feeling.
Kim, did you have anything?
I did, so, you know, while this is one piece of it, there are other pieces of it that have found challenging, since I've come to Litchfield. The other part of this is communication, right? So communication between not only the planning board, the zoning board, conservation,
Highway.
the highway, and my office. So the first year that I had to work on the MS4 report before Nick was involved, and thank heavens he is now, was extremely challenging because there was no good tracking of what projects had come before you, what those impacts were, and therefore what I had to capture in the report. So we need to strengthen those communications and start to build an MS4 related project listing so that we are all in the know. And so last fall, the highway department, also working, with CEI, held a public meeting on the stormwater asset management system that we're working on. And I would sincerely suggest that we have our consultants come in and speak with the planning board and the zoning board, as there wasn't representation at that meeting from either. But I think we all need to work together. This is one of those areas that is very comprehensive. And it touches everybody. You may not have been hearing it, but we've been hearing it a lot. My phone is ringing off the hook with the amount of rain that we have had, and now the impending storm. Residents that are near a water source, which is Litchfield men, most probably. Yeah, water levels are extremely high. The highway department is running out and checking culverts and things daily. So it's been a big issue. We have a number of large projects that are on the docket now, or before you. Not to say that we probably will have that many or to that extent. But, you know, even the contractor letter that has to be issued, letting people be aware of the requirements, you know, that piece of communication hadn't been delivered. So we put that together so that we could meet the MS4 the year before last, after Troy left. That communication has to be getting out to developers that are working within the town. And so I don't think that communication has come before you, and we'll have to work to put that. You may want to reword it, you may want to kind of customize that a little bit. Quite frankly, my office put it together quickly and mailed it out to the developers that we had on file, kind of quickly. But it's something that should really come from the planning. So, I think even having joint conversations between conservation planning, zoning, highway, and myself in the future would be beneficial.
Communication is priority.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Anybody have any questions? Okay. Well, we will certainly work on that, putting that together. And I think you're right. Communication is going to be critical, especially through the chain. You know, because obviously, you know, with the permitting process, you know, the planning board, you know, zoning, conservation, the code enforcement, all of that is going to be key to, and you know, getting the information out, and at least everybody being on the same page, I think is the key too, because you have these regulations, and you want to make sure that you know, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and there's no confusion between people or boards regarding that. So that's good. So I think next time maybe we can get a red line version, and we can maybe go over it and see if anybody had any more questions or how we want to put this into perspective. So.
Can you do that?
Can I do that? Of course I can do that.
Okay. You're going down to the Cape, where is it?
Yeah, we'll work on it between now and then.
Okay, and obviously Lou, in input from Lou as well. He's our town engineer, so definitely, and Jay.
Historic mayonnaise.
Okay. All right, I think we have a plan.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, master plan update, population and housing chapter. We'll turn to Jay on this one.
I don't have too much new to report. I think everybody got a copy of the last draft. Between the last meeting, or the last draft that you saw, and now, I have been making some updates and changes, so there are some things I wanted to correct. Mainly, though, what I wanted to do was update it to
13.
include references to all of the newer development that we've had, which I think are pretty significant. But there was one thing I was going to, if I
See you
can
later.
pour through all of my stuff here. One of the items I did want to hand out, here it is, which was not included, but I do think we do need to include it. And this is the housing projections, or I should say targets, that came out of the Regional Housing Needs Assessment. And since we have one member of the audience, I'll give you, sneak around you. I didn't want to make you get up.
That's okay.
So I do think we want to include this, and I just kind of wanted to explain what it is. So in the Regional Housing Needs Assessment that was completed by NRPC last year, and that's a document that we're required to produce and update every 5 years. Some of you may know that all of the regional planning commissions updated them simultaneously, and we brought in a consulting firm, a national consulting firm called Root Policy Research, to develop what they called a fair share allocation. So essentially what these are housing production targets that were developed and massaged for every community in New Hampshire. So for our region, this is what it looks like. I can kind of explain a little bit more about how that was done. So the way it was done is they did projections on population increase for every community. It was done statewide, and then it was broken down to sub-areas. And that was based on migration and natural increase, which is typically, of course, how it's done. And then what we did was take a look. I don't want to quite say that we did a build-out analysis because it wasn't at that level of detail. But what it did do is look at the vacant developable land that could be available for residential development in each community to see whether or not the community could actually absorb this number of units. And so on the basis of that, that analysis came up with housing production targets for every community. So what you're going to see if you're looking at this table, you can see the column in yellow that says, there's 2025 as your first column. I wouldn't pay a whole lot of attention to 2025. Look at 2030, which is in yellow in the middle of the table. So that's really the one to kind of zoom in on first. So what you're going to see is for each community, including Litchfield, there is a total number of new units that would be necessary or Litchfield should strive to produce. That's 358. And then you can see, if you move over towards the right, that it also breaks it down by some key income levels. Renters below 60% of average median income, AMI. Renters above 60%, homeowners below 100%, and homeowners above 100%. So why those matter is that the state's workforce housing statute defines basically affordable housing, workforce housing, and they use two categories. One is renters, actually being super specific, it is rental households of 3, so of a household size of 3 earning 60% or less of the median income. So housing that has to be affordable to that specific category. For homeowners, it's a household of 4 earning 100% of the median income. So that's why these targets are there. So again, kind of going to that total number of 358, 37 of those units should be affordable to a renter household at 60% of the median income or less. Above really matters less. And then homeowners, the affordable would be 103. So those are kind of your housing production targets, if that makes sense. And then it goes on and provides a figure on the lower portion of the table for 2035 and for 2040. 2040 is kind of the outside year, I think, that we would look at in the master plan. And so previously when we had looked at this, we were talking about, it's about another 1,000 people that we'd be planning for by 2040 in Litchfield. And that's true, it's a bit over 1,000 people, but that'd be about 543 households. So that's what it translates into. So nothing that we need to do with this, but take a look at it, absorb it. I think, though, one of the key things is when I look at that 358 total unit production figure by 2030, I was surprised at how close we are to that figure. Just looking at the, and jump in and correct me if I'm wrong, Joan, my count is for just the projects that have been approved over the last couple of years, that's a total of 322 units. That's almost there. So I think realistically, hitting that 358 units by 2030 is beyond realistic. We could easily exceed it, because that's just those developments that we approved, not all the other lots that are out there. And just for fun, of that, 238 of those units are multifamily, and that's Rose Meadows and Corning Farm. And 55 are manufactured housing, that's Olson's. Again, approved, not necessarily built. Only one of these is got building permits yet, Corning Farm. I think, as we know, Rose Meadows is actively under construction, so reasonable to assume that that's going to happen.
Foundations are starting to come in.
Right. Yeah. And that's just those. Obviously, there's more multifamily, as we know, Tallarico fairly recently, and so anyway. And I think that's also why it's really important to make sure that we're referencing all those developments in the master plan, because
We have to.
yeah, we do have to. It's significant.
It is.
Quick point of reference, I'm assuming based on how this is laid out, a building unit does not differentiate a two-bedroom condo versus a four-bedroom house. They're essentially the same thing as far as this is concerned.
That's right.
Correct.
Gotcha.
All the same.
It all depends what it is, it's just.
Just a spot you can live in.
Of it, yeah.
That's right. And importantly, it can include an ADU also.
Yeah.
So, which have been harder to tally, but
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a tough one.
it is a tough one.
It is.
This is definitely worth adding.
Right.
Yes,
So,
sir.
and I also think why it's significant and why it's important to mention this in the master plans, because one of the things, if you've looked through some of the tables so far as you can see, Litchfield's rate of growth has dropped very significantly in recent decades. And I think that's changing on the basis of just what we've seen. I think that rate of growth will increase with what we have on the table right now. So,
You got ish, yeah.
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 That's all I wanted to add, but the next time we look at this, I will have an updated chapter for you with a lot of those additions in it.
Jay?
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. Very good. Anybody have any questions?
I got going back to, I just started working back over the Milford again.
Yeah.
42 building permit applications in the last month and a half came in.
Wow.
From solar, additions, homes, okay, malls, we're renovating three of the malls, the tennis spaces. They're all over the place. And I'm enjoying it.
I can tell.
Keep it over there.
Yeah.
Staying home. I got 2 grandchildren now. In the last, one was 3 months ago, and we're taking care of Jackman, that's the boy. And my son he moved into a house and the house brought on a baby. Okay? And I got a little girl now again, 2 weeks old.
Are you blaming the house?
My folks said the same thing when they moved into it too. It's their house, I own it. The birth control didn't work.
All right,
Sorry, I'm working
moving on. Election of planning board officers. So, just so everybody is aware, my seat is not endowed in perpetuity. It is a disposable office. I would like to think that it is. It's an opportunity, if anyone is interested, we have to elect a new, we have to elect a chair and a vice chair for our board. And so this is the opportunity for nominations and voting, and I'll leave it at that. So,
Can I vote on this one?
You can vote on everything.
Yeah.
if you want.
Okay.
I'll nominate Mike Croto for chair of the planning board.
Second?
Okay. I have a motion by Jeremy, I have a second by Jared. Is there any discussion?
I'm getting old.
Yeah, I know. All right, all those, I'll take the vote. All those in favor of Michael Croto as chair of the Litchfield Planning Board, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed,
I'd love to, but I can't. I love practice too.
and I, for fairness, I will abstain. So, but I appreciate everybody's vote. So motion passes 4-0-1. Okay. Vice chair. Who would we like as a vice chair? Jeremy, you interested?
As long as you'll be here most times, sure.
Okay.
Just let him know so he can call out sick.
If you guys want me as vice chair, I'll be vice chair.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Okay,
What happened?
so,
If you want me as
We
vice
have-
chair, I'll be vice chair.
yeah, so we have two
Volunteer.
nominations.
He nominated himself?
I haven't nominated myself, but I said
Flip
if
a
you
coin.
guys want to
I'm fine
nominate.
with Jared. Well, I'll nominate Jared.
Yeah,
I'll nominate Jared for vice chair.
all right. Well, we have a-
Second that.
All right, I have a motion to nominate Jared O'Connell as vice chair of the planning board. And I have a second by Rosé. Any further discussion? All those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Abstained. All right, motion passes
I oppose. He should be.
4-0-1. Congratulations.
There we go.
I have a sense of humor.
Okay,
I didn't know you were gonna.
Good man.
so
Yeah,
that
that's good.
completes the elections. for
Stick here and learn for a couple of years before you go anywhere. I've learned that a long time ago.
It's gonna take 2 years just for me to learn a little bit.
Next item is committee reports. Any reports from any committees? I guess I'll start with you, Jeremy, if you have anything for
Yeah,
economic
so
development.
economic development, I think you all, well, hopefully you all saw the survey results that came out, and we discussed it actually last Wednesday. Very, very good job. Town really showed up to go ahead and do this survey for us, so we had lots of things to go through. Right now, we're going ahead and going through that data and gonna give our report to the Board of Selectmen to have them go ahead and review things. But yes, it was very good, and we're still moving forward to have more surveys coming soon. So
You had about 1,100 returns on the survey?
11 or 13, somewhere in that ballpark. So it was a,
Astonishing.
it was a massive
Yeah.
number. So I think a lot of it was that we were
Election day
goals,
helped.
but there were lots of surveys that came back before that too. So people were going online, going to the library, going to the transfer station. So it was good.
I want
How
to,
many registered voters does Litchfield have?
5,000?
Well, we had way more registered, but people that voted is only like 3,000 overall. So
Right.
we had a really good percentage.
Seriously?
good one.
So
That's an astonishing percentage.
I'm very proud of it. So it was great.
I was the guy at the polls that was handing out the pink slips, you know.
Oh, Jeremy was doing a good job at shouting them down.
Oh yes, he was heckling me next to me most of the time. So
This is his job.
That's what we're supposed to do.
there we go.
There you go, teamwork.
Yeah,
Are you thinking of doing more surveys?
eventually, right, we're gonna go through what we have now. We're gonna fine tune the next surveys to
Yeah.
get into what people said they wanted
And what,
and how best to go about doing said item.
On the survey that you did, the one thing I thought that was missing was you didn't say how long the person had lived here or when they
So
had
we
moved
discussed
in.
that actually in quite
At
depth in a
length.
couple meetings, so people didn't wanna get there yet, so that might come into the next ones to see more pointed issues. We just wanna know kind of why you were doing the survey, is kind of why the question was geared towards.
Okay.
And most of it was people who actually live here. There was very few who had nothing to do with the town. So you either lived here or worked here for the most part. I think it was 95% lived here who did the survey, so.
There was a
and our
lot of
ne-
debate around that, though, a lot.
Yeah, and our next meeting is, hold on a second. We had to move it around a little bit.
Because when you said,
clarification.
did you
So
move
we
here
did
for affordable housing? Well, yes, but that was 46 years ago.
So our next meeting is gonna be May 8th, which is a Wednesday, at 6:30, right here, hopefully. Final time to come. All right?
Okay, thank you. Conservation Commission meets this Thursday, at 6:30 in Town Hall, Joan? or-
Yes.
Yeah, here in Town Hall. The Capital Improvement Committee will be meeting the beginning of May 1st, I believe. We were gonna originally meet in April, but we felt that it would probably be better to postpone, and, so it will be May.
May 6th.
May 6th, thank you. And Lower Merrimack Local River Advisory Committee did meet last Thursday in Nashua. And one of the projects that came before that board was the project that came before us for conditional approval last meeting regarding the Mel's and Mr. Charbonneau's project.
Oh, the taking down of the sand hill?
Yes, yeah, so.
Gravel operation.
Right,
and
alteration of
recycling.
terrain permit was being
Yep.
considered, and
Gravel
that board
operation.
makes recommendations, so. We do have a number of people on that, from Litchfield on that board now. It's kind of interesting. When I started doing it, you couldn't get anybody to take that position on that board. But now I think there's like 4 people that have actually
Beautiful.
from Litchfield, so that's great. And I believe that is all I have.
Make a motion, we adjourn then.
Oh, and
Minutes.
the NRPC, there is a meeting, isn't there, in April, a special meeting?
April 17th,
April 17th, there's a special meeting for amendments to the,
Transportation Improvement
Improvement.
Program.
okay, so there will be a meeting.
One question, is circumferential off of that?
For that.
Well, no,
Oh,
but
no.
that might be one of the comments that we get, so,
April 17th, huh?
yeah.
Approval of the January 2nd and March 19th, 2024 minutes.
I have a comment from Matthew Sullivan about the January 2nd minutes. I don't know if you ever, I don't know if you want to see that.
Yes, they have.
Is the draft on the website the same one, or has it been?
I think it's the same one. I don't think anything's been done because
think
Matt didn't
we-
get any direction.
I think we did vote to request that our meetings person reviews a
And
certain
does,
section.
and does bullet points, because that's what I had.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
So
but-
it's not ready yet?
Well, he needed, didn't he say, what's the date on that email?
This is dated January 29th, 2024.
Oh,
2 months ago.
Yeah.
So no movement.
No?
Well, I mean, I guess,
oh, I do have,
looking to do table it again?
Yeah.
Table it, okay.
do you want him to do bullet points on it?
Can we just make it simple and then just bullet point the thing?
I think that there was only one section that needed work, and that section should be rewritten. The entire thing doesn't need to be rewritten, but
Okay.
the part that like the member of the public had concerns about, for example, that part needed.
And that's, Kim addressed that, I think Kim addressed that, but It's from Matthew?
Yeah, I think, it looks like this was, he must have went through the video or something and picked out comments, comment interactions. Well, I think what we can do is we'll table it till next meeting, and I don't know if we'll see what, if we can get Matt to do the bullets or whatever.
All right, I'll take
Or,
that back.
make it simpler.
Yeah, just the section that Kim, myself, and Kate all commented on.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know there were comments made by different members, and I think we submitted them to Matt.
Yeah.
I'll see if he got it.
Okay. So I'm going to need a motion to table those minutes for January 2nd. Jeremy, do I have a second?
A second.
By Jared. Any discussion? All those in favor of tabling the January 2nd, 2024 minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Abstained? Okay. Motion passes, what is this, 401? March 19th, 2024 minutes. Anybody have any questions on those? That was last.
My name is misspelt.
On the front?
For the motion to recommend me to the Board of Selectmen. But it's spelled correctly in the member section, so we just have to use the set spelling from the member section.
Okay.
Any other observations?
Anybody have anything else? I'll entertain a motion to approve them as amended.
I abstain.
I'll make a motion to approve them as amended.
Okay, Jeremy has made the motion to approve them as amended. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Jared. Any further discussion? All right. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, abstained, motion passes 401. Okay,
I'll keep you active. You always have.
All right, Kevin, now you're up.
okay.
They're gonna do the same, trust me.
Jay, do you have anything under any other business?
I do not.
Any other business?
Joan, do you have anything? on-
No, I do not.
I actually have something. I was looking today, and I just happened to come across Town of Litchfield Planning Board bylaws, which were amended May 19th, 2015. That's the last amended version. I think it might be time to
Look at them.
do a
Relook at it.
relook and if we want to make changes to it or update it, I think we need to do that.
It's only 9 years. What are you worried about?
There is also, there is a protocol in here also for the issue for disqualification and conflict of interests with board members,
Yep.
which I thought is interesting. So there is a guidance document here that we could use, but if we want to change it or look to amend it or whatever, and I'm really referencing the entire document, but we can do that. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, and I think that we should do that. So we will work on that.
I didn't look for these on the website. Where are they on the website?
If you go to the town website, I think it
Oh, they're on
says
there?
Town Hall.
Yeah, second
In
one in.
there's a bunch of documents for planning board, and it should be there. That's why I found it.
Yeah, I'll scan it to everybody too.
Under planning board?
What?
Yeah.
Do you have one of these nifty binders with everything in them?
So when you go to the town website,
I'll have to check. I have one pile, stack
you go
of
up
papers
to
outside.
town website,
town
planning board,
website,
The nifty
go,
binder has the
Planning board
bylaws
bylaws.
as the first
yeah,
thing.
it should,
It's
it-
under other.
Okay, which I have.
other, yeah. You gotta scroll down, it's in those documents.
So, what section under town?
Did we ever make these for planning board members, or is this just the one I happen to have?
That's just the one you happen to have.
All right.
It's, Jared, on the second tab under the website, it says Town Hall, and then scroll down to that under Planning Board.
Yeah, other, so, planning board bylaw.
Okay, yep.
All right.
And there's also an MS4 stormwater map
Down
there.
under other planning board bylaws.
The secretary clerk position, which we don't have.
Well, yeah, I mean, the clerk of the works, I mean, we really,
Well, if both of you are absent, then you need somebody to run the meet, well, you can always appoint someone, right?
Be the vice.
well, I mean, all right, we can certainly do that. We could certainly elect a clerk of the works if for some reason the chair or the vice chair is not present and someone has to run the meeting. Although I don't know you're gonna have a quorum, but.
That's it, I was just thinking, just counting up, yeah, we have a quorum.
But you got,
Or you could amend the bylaws and eliminate the position.
well, then, you know, that's another option as well. But maybe for purposes, since these bylaws are still in effect, and won't be fair, is anyone interested in the clerk of the works position?
I would love it.
All right.
And if
I'm
Matt
gonna make a
Sullivan's
motion that we
absent, you get to do the
nominate
minutes.
Joe Robidoux for clerk of the works for the Litchfield Planning Board. Do I have a second?
One second.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Abstained? Motion passes 401.
I didn't say nothing.
I know.
I was watching the guy. You really want to do that?
So that gives us an insurance policy in case the chair and vice chair are absent. Then
I could show up and just.
you can show up
Open,
and
close
do
the
what you want.
1 minute open, 30 seconds closed.
Close it, yeah, there you go. Okay, so, but we will work on amending these, and if we want to continue to have that position, we can, or if we don't want to have it, we can talk about that. Okay. Since there is no other business this evening, I don't have anything, anybody has anything, I'm going to entertain a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, okay. Yeah, go ahead, that's the motion. Do I have a second to the yeah, go ahead?
I'll second the yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I got a second to the yeah, go ahead. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, abstained, motion passes 5-0-0. Thank you for joining us this evening, and we will see you on the 16th of April. Have a good
Oh,
night.
so the big news is, Corning Farm, they're moving in. Two of them have moved in.
Again, the next one.
$3,100. Not with the utility.
$3,250.
You don't follow any of
What?
that stuff.
It's now $3,000.